Are you a parent of a teenager who struggles to read? You've tried everything from encouragement to consequences, but your child still avoids reading or perhaps even refuses to do it altogether. It's not that they don't care, it's that reading has slowly become a place of failure for them. In this episode, we're talking honestly about why older readers lose motivation and how to help them rediscover their confidence.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Tracy Young, OG tutor extraordinaire, founder of theliteracykeys.com, and most importantly, mom of a dyslexic daughter. Welcome to my podcast, where you'll discover ways to unlock your child's reading potential. I'll share tips, strategies, and war stories that have happened along the way, because everyone deserves to be able to read. So let's get started.
Welcome to the Literacy Keys. I'm Tracy Young, your host, and it's so great to be here with you. Parents of older children are always asking how they can get their child to read more. They don't see much reading motivation happening in their kids, and they wonder what they can do to ignite that motivation. If you're a parent of a middle or high school student who's struggling with reading, today's episode is for you. I recently came across an article that really sums up what I see in my tutoring practice. It's from Education Week, and it's titled, "Secondary Students Are Struggling with Reading Too, a Look at the Landscape." It's a powerful reminder that reading struggles aren't simply reserved for younger students. The article shares that almost 60% of educators, that means teachers and administrators, reported that 25% or more of their middle and high school students have difficulty with basic reading. No surprise there, we've seen that on the NAEP scores. In this episode, I'll walk you through some of the key points from that article. I'll unpack how older struggling readers are different from younger ones. I'll share a little of how I specialize in helping older students, what I do, and then most importantly, I'll give you some practical tips for you as a parent and what you can do at home. If there are any Tiger parents out there listening, I'll even reference the book Know Better, Do Better by Meredith and David Liben, which offers some great insights relevant for older readers. So let's dive right in. Let's talk about some of the major takeaways from that article. First, the problem is widespread. We are seeing it everywhere. As the article notes, more than half of the surveyed educators said that 25% or more of their secondary students are struggling with basic reading skills. Two main factors that they attribute this to are motivation and fluency. The educators listed lack of motivation as the top reason that older students struggle to read, with about 20% pointing and referencing students' limited fluency, which means they read too slow and not automatically, and that affects comprehension. So students are struggling to read, they aren't reading automatically, and we wonder why they aren't motivated to read. Part of the fluency issue revolves around longer multisyllabic words that start to show up in science and math vocabulary. The article says that many older students often have difficulty cracking the code for multisyllabic words. And we know that those words are part of that specialized vocabulary that is specific to each subject. Ironically, teacher support drops off in the middle and high school years. Almost 40% of teachers received no training on how to remediate reading issues in older students. To me, what this tells us is struggling readers don't magically catch up simply as time passes. We've been saying for too long, oh, they'll get it, just give them time. We need to stop saying it. It doesn't work. And they don't catch up. They face unique challenges in the secondary years, and they need targeted support. I've been saying this for a long, long time. So it's actually really nice to see the article in Education Week, basically validating what I've been saying for years. Let's pause and think about how older secondary students who struggle with reading are different. So, first, there are higher stakes in academic demands. In middle and high school, students are asked to do far more reading of complex text across a wide range of subjects. Think social studies, science, literature. The vocabulary is much more advanced, the sentences are more complex. The article highlights that the secondary schools expect students to use their reading muscles in unique ways. But many of these kids have been raised in a literary diet of fast food and don't have reading muscle. Another difference, psychological or emotional layers. I would even venture to call it trauma. Older students may feel embarrassed or ashamed to admit that reading is hard. Motivation will dip if they see themselves as behind or that reading is just not for me. Sure, the article mentions a lack of motivation as a big reason, but honestly, a lot of information and layers, it's like an onion, lies behind the word motivation. Another issue, decoding and fluency issues persist. They didn't magically go away. One might assume that by middle school, students have basic decoding down, but the reality is that they don't, and they're not going to get the support. Because unlike younger grades, where reading intervention at school is common, older students get less to no intervention time. And then year after year, they just keep falling further and further behind. There are fewer screening assessments, there's fewer staff dedicated to helping these students. It just snowballs. Another point, and this might seem minor, but to a high school who's struggling to read, it's not. There is a need for age appropriate materials. An older student reading a picture book or a children's short passage may feel disconnected and absolutely unmotivated. Their interests, identity, peer concerns are completely different from those of a 6-year-old. So the way we teach older struggling readers must reflect their age, their interests, and their identity as teenagers. So, because of all of that, older readers need a different mindset approach than younger children. So, you may know me as a tutor for dyslexic students, which is true, but I focus on older students, those middle school and high school students who've been struggling with reading. I joke that it takes an older student to get my sarcasm, but there really are several reasons that I focused on this age group. The first, and fundamentally, I believe it is never too late to become a better reader. The brain can change and skills definitely grow. I recently taught a student who had already graduated from high school. By the end of 6 months, with an intensive 3 to 4 lessons per week, she improved 6 grade levels. Because age matters, the materials have to be age appropriate. This means I choose texts that match their maturity level. Ideally, haha. I'm not looking at baby text or irrelevantly easy material that feels demeaning. In fact, a friend of mine, Larissa Phillips, wrote a decodable book, City Stories, to teach adults how to read. She identified that there was a lack of materials that illiterate adults could use. Let's face it, a 16-year-old doesn't want a children's story. They need material that honors their age, interests, and identity. I've said it before, and I will repeat that because it is so important. Also, the focus of the lessons changes. It focuses on fluency, vocabulary, decoding multisyllabic words, and your speed, your reading volume, the engagement and motivation. All of those are elements that need to be incorporated. For older students, they read a wider range, and that is really important. But if they're stuck in slow decoding, they get frustrated, right? So it needs to be supported. Some would say scaffold. I like to say supported. You work with them to build their confidence, and you repeat readings because repetition is a very important factor. Lastly, one of the things is students also need to shift their mindset to go from thinking, I should read better by now, to I can get better from here. And it's that shift that unlocks possibilities. But honestly, it takes time. So, in short, yes, I specialize in older students that struggle to read. And yes, part of the specialization is making sure the materials are age appropriate in content, interest, and tone. But it's also a promise that I make to them. I can help them become a better reader. I don't sugarcoat the message. I let my students know it is hard work, and it is a lot of hard work. But I'm willing to put the work in because I know that they can do it. And that's a perfect segue to the next thing that I wanted to talk about. So, if you're a parent of a middle or high schooler who's struggling with reading, I want to provide some tips because that's what this podcast is all about, empowering parents and children. So, what are some of the things that you can do? First, talk openly about your child's reading challenges. Let your child know you see them, that you believe in their potential, and that you're in this together. You absolutely have to acknowledge it's not easy, but it is possible to get better. It will take a lot of hard work. Secondly, choose materials together that respect their age and their interests. Let go of the feeling that they have to start back with the children's books. They don't. Choose articles, short novels, graphic novels, teen interest, nonfiction, anything. Help them find what they want to read. You can even go to AI in order to create some reading passages around their interest. Say that create this passage, the prompt that you would use is create this passage at A and insert the grade level that they're currently reading related to, I don't know, aliens or intergalactic space travel, right? And ChatGPT or Gemini or whoever you're using will spit something out. See how they do and modify it accordingly. Another really important point is they have to keep reading. It's got to be daily. Older readers still benefit from building reading stamina, the exposure to vocabulary and seeing themselves as readers, even if it's only 5 to 10 minutes a day. Over time, it will build. Have them read to you out loud so you know if there's a fluency or a decoding issue. You can help them by re-teaching key vocabulary. All right, this is the word. Here's how we pronounce it. All right, tell them, show them. Use repeated readings. Have them read the same passage 2 to 3 times to build speed and confidence. In the book, Know Better, Do Better, I believe that they had them read it an entire week. So that may seem repetitive, but it's that repetition that builds the stamina and the identification of the words to improve the automaticity and the fluency. Big words that basically say, do it often because they're going to start recognizing the words and reading faster. You can model the reading and read out loud together, or have your child listen to an audiobook, but it's important that they follow along with the text. The whole point is to identify the words with the pronunciation. Another thing you might want to do, consider targeted tutoring and intervention if it is needed. Because older students often have persistent gaps, then a specialist who knows older students can make a big difference. If your child has been behind for a while, don't wait and hope that they'll get the support. They don't. Often, once we fill in the foundational skills, they make very rapid progress. If your child was sick and when they were in elementary school and they missed a couple of lessons, right, they may have some, I call it the Swiss cheese, they may have some really big gaps in the foundational reading skills. And once that's filled in, they take off really quickly. Figure out which tips work for you and your child. At the beginning of the episode, I mentioned a book that has an entire chapter on how to improve fluency. The book is Know Better, Do Better by Meredith and David Liben. It shares what they did to create a school where all students could read. And in the sixth grade, and this is why I recommend the book. In the sixth grade, the school has, it's a charter school, if I remember correctly, gets an influx of students from other elementary schools, and they're at very different fluency skills or fluency levels. So the book has an entire chapter sharing what they did to improve the fluency of these incoming students. So basically, everyone in the sixth grade was then reading fluently and it wasn't holding them back. So they have an entire chapter focused on fluency by addressing accuracy, rate, the speed at which you read, and the expression, the prosody, so that you don't sound like a robot when you're reading. Their basic insight was that accuracy means reading the words correctly. Rate means reading at a speed that allows the meaning to be grasped, and it's not done so slowly that the working memory forgets earlier words. And it's not so fast that you gloss over the meaning and you don't remember anything that you read. And thirdly, expression means reading with a natural phrasing and emotions, kind of like you're talking with someone. For older students who struggle, this trifecta is hugely relevant. If they'll read accurately with a faster pace, but not too rushed, and with expression, their comprehension improves and their confidence grows. And that's what we want. So, by using repeated readings, reading along with a model, encouraging expressive reading, these are all strategies that you can do at home. Even though the book is often cited for K through 8 reading, the fluency chapter speaks directly to older readers as well. And now, parents, listeners, for the heart of this episode. If your child is in middle school or high school and still struggling with reading, this is not a hopeless situation. Far from it. Yes, the demands are higher, the challenges are real, but your child can grow as a reader. You still can help them become a stronger, more confident reader. Age does not lock you into being behind forever. As I say in my tutoring work all the time, the brain remains plastic, skills can improve, and identity can shift. Your child can move from saying, I'm not a good reader, to I am a reader who works to get better. Your child can choose texts that reflect their age, their interest, and still build fluency and comprehension. You partner with them, not as a teacher, but as a coach, an encourager, and a supporter. Remember, improvements might feel slow at times, but small, consistent steps add up. A little volume of reading today, a fluency check tomorrow, a discussion the following day. These compound over time. And the change looks like increased in confidence, fewer stops during reading, and being able to read for longer periods of time. To every parent and listener out there, you are the key piece for your child's reading journey. It's your belief in them, your patience, your partnership that matters. And to your child, you're not defined by where you are now. We know where you can go from here. Choose to move forward, even if the steps feel small. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I hope you found this episode of the Literacy Keys helpful, encouraging, and most importantly, actionable. If you'd like to dive deeper into resources, I'd love to point you to a few more. All right, they'll be in the show notes, from the article from Education Week that I referenced to the book, Know Better, Do Better. And if you like, reach out. We can talk about materials or tutoring design for older readers. Until next time, remember, it's never too late to become a better reader. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to the Literacy Keys podcast. Follow us on social media, and most importantly, tell a friend. See you next week.